Cannibalism. Could you eat a whole human being? With the help of a doctor, a scientist and a chef, I set out to see if it's possible. Cannibalism, Part 7. Skin. The only thing that serial killers and cannibals think that human skin is good for is making a suit. Infamously, Ed Gein sewed a suit made of women's skin, including leggings made of leg flesh, a corset with breasts, a belt made of nipples, and masks flayed from women's faces, so he could literally become his mother and crawl into her skin. As well as making lampshades, a bongo, bowls made out of skulls, 9 vulvas in a shoebox, lips as a window shade drawstring, and a female nipple doorbell, to name but a few. And although suspected of being a cannibal, as he'd gutted a body like a deer and a heart was said to have been found in a pan on the stove, he only confessed to grave robbing. No tooth marks were ever found on any bones or flesh, and the heart itself was actually found in a plastic bag by the pot, not in the pot. The problem is that by itself, when the fat and the meat is stripped away, skin is not a great treat to eat. Covering 2 to 3 square meters and weighing between 3.5 and 10 kilos, the skin is the largest organ in the human body. Comprising of the epidermis, the dermis and the hypodermis, a single square inch is made up of 19 million skin cells and contains 300 sweat glands, 20 blood vessels, and 1,000 nerve endings. Although just 2 millimeters at its thickest and as thin as 0.07 millimeters, skin produces melanin, brings oxygen and nutrients to your cells, removes waste, regulates your heat, and protects you against UV light and pollution. It renews itself every 28 days, which makes it a very fresh part of the human body, shedding 30,000 skin cells a minute. But that outer layer of skin is made up of between 10 to 30 thin layers of dead skin cells. Delicious. So if Steve were to have his skin flayed off, but no fat because our cannibal is dieting, those 7 kilos or 15.5 pounds of skin could provide roughly 13,000 calories, enough for about 5 days, being full of carbs, protein, fats and vitamin C. But as cannibals in the Paleolithic era discovered, skin was a last resort, especially human, as without the meat and the fat, skin is merely an effective seal for preserving it. That said, with 167,000 people dying every day, if we put our morals aside, with an average of 22 square feet of skin each, our daily death toll could provide 3.65 million square feet of skin a day, and needing just 45 square feet to make a leather jacket. Daily, we could clothe the world in 81,600 Fonzie-style jackets. Eeeeee. But would that ever happen? No. Visually, skin is the most important part of the human body. It makes us unique without needing to move or to make a sound. It is significant in many religions, as with the symbolic eating of the body of Christ. The flaying of skin is used as war trophies, like in 1571 when Marc Antonio Brigadin, general of the Venetian resistance, was flayed, his skin was stuffed with straw, and he was paraded along the streets riding an ox. And even for proven cannibals, like the Korowai of Indonesia's Papua, although no longer practiced, they still encourage tales of flaying and the eating of human flesh to keep any Westerners away. As for serial killers, the heart and the brain is a symbolic meal, but the skin is more of a souvenir. Armin Meiwes said he was motivated to become a cannibal as he always wanted a younger brother, and this way someone could be part of me, although it's uncertain if that was true. And in 2000, having stabbed her boyfriend 37 times. Katherine Knight flayed his skin, hung it on a meat hook, and as his decapitated head cooked in a pot, she laid table settings for his kids, with plates of his flesh being served with vegetables and gravy. As a victim in a violent and abusive relationship, if that's not purely symbolic, what is? Without the fat and the meat, skin isn't a meal, but a protective layer, an act of symbolism, or a souvenir. So maybe in this case, cannibals have got it right. Karl Denk, the cannibal of Münsterberg, who supposedly sold human flesh at the market, not only had jars of flesh curing in salt, 2 tubs of meat pickling in brine, skinned bones and pots of bubbling fat for eating and selling, but he also sewed himself some gentleman's apparel, with shoelaces wound from skin and hair, and belts flayed from the chest and occasionally the pubis. And maybe that's why, when we eat animals, we choose not to anthropomorphize them. A cannibal wants to see another human as a meal, not a best mate. As like us chomping on a piggy, we don't want to be reminded of who it was or what they were, as a bacon sandwich is yummy, but not if it smiled at you. Imagine tucking into Steve's slightly tanned flesh, and you're instantly reminded of his last holiday in the Algarve, his appendix scar, a tattoo of his kids' names, a cigarette stain on his lips, and his battle with eczema. Even if you're starving to death, would you still be hungry enough to eat his scabs? I thought not. Join me tomorrow to examine a zombie's favourite part of the human body, the brain.